I want to start by talking about the concussions you suffered in your time during the NHL. There are 4 documented, all of them quite severe. Can you tell us about those hits?
Yeah, I think it's important that people also make note of the fact that you said 4 documented concussions, because that doesn't tell the whole story of my case history. You know, dating back to the time I first started playing hockey, I suffered through concussions, at the time not understanding or knowing exactly what I was dealing with, but that ultimately that number is probably well north of 10. But the 4 documented concussions I did suffer through, my first being in 1997. My second in 2000, third in 2004, and my last one in 2005. And I guess for me, the biggest memory that I have is that each one of them took longer to recover from, and ultimately the last one, the 4th one, a concussion that I wasn't able to recover from, and was the end of my career.
How would you describe that 4th hit when you were playing against the Montreal Canadiens? What happened and how did it all transpire?
We were on the penalty kill, and it was a shot off the goaltender, and a rebound came out, and I turned to play the rebound, and the forward for the Canadiens was coming in on the forecheck and caught me in the side of the head.
Did you take those injuries seriously at the time?
Nope, not until the 4th concussion, and I guess at the time I still really didn't completely understand the injury, and thought that I would be able to work myself back to health and work myself back into the lineup. But I know, people often ask me about my concussions, and I reflect on documented concussion number 2, which was in Pittsburgh in the playoffs, 2000, of really being the beginning of the demise for me, because I stayed in a Pittsburgh hospital overnight, flew back to Philadelphia the next day, and returned to the lineup the next night for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and all the while thinking I was doing the right thing by myself and my teammates, but really should have listened and heeded the symptoms and not returned.
How did you feel when you were told your career in the NHL was over because of all these hits?
Relieved. I was in the trainer's office and told him, in another couple of weeks I'm going to be prepared. I'll be ready. I think I'm on the final stages of my recovery. Only for him to look at me and say, Keith, we appreciate and applaud your efforts, but my conscience will never allow me to give you permission to play. And at that point, my career was over. But honestly, the first instinct I felt was relief, because if he wouldn't have had the courage to tell me that he wasn't going to give me the opportunity to play again, I would have just continued to try. And I guess that was why, for me, my course since then, and my involvement at work and in concussion issues is so strong, because I just believe it's a mindset. It's a cultural shift that needs to occur, because I grew up with the mentality that you play through the pain, you play through whatever you need to in order to be on the ice, or in whatever you partake in. And that's not the right mentality. Ultimately, the right mentality is to listen to your body, listen to symptoms, and take the time you need to recover.
How have all those concussions affected you off the ice?
I can't honestly say for the last 12 months this is the best I've felt in a really long time, but it was a long road to recovery, of which at points in time I didn't think I would ever feel normal or feel like my old self. But I also know that in a lot of cases that people aren't able to recover and don't find that peace and happiness.
Tell us about your organization called Stop Concussions.
Stop Concussions is a broad-based platform that was designed to bring information to the masses, and we've discovered as we were doing our tour and discussing hockey, which obviously is most important to me, and speaking our message across Canada, what we discovered was that it wasn't hockey-centric. The injury crosses all walks of life, all sports, all ethnicities, and it was more important for us to get to as many people as we could. And we also sensed the level of frustration and anxiety that people weren't able to get the information they needed. So what we've tried to do is create one portal where people can come and get the information that they need in order to inform themselves and make the best decision based on that information for them and their families.
And finally, Keith, what's the single most important thing that you want people to know about concussions and head trauma?
The most important thing is listen to your body. Ultimately, if you don't feel right, you're probably not right, and that's the most important thing. Doctors can try and treat and prescribe, oftentimes even medicate, but they really need to hear from the individual themselves, and that still is part of the most difficult thing associated with concussions. It's still so very subjective, but just be honest and true to yourself.